Welcome back. Uh, Today I'm going to be speaking on biological hazard warning system and an evacuation plan, just like it happened up in California a month back. Uh, you got to have a plan because a lot of residents weren't able to get back to their actual to their homes due to the evacuation of the chemical spill. So let's get right to it. I got three examples of illegal actual labs. There's no other way to say it. So the first one was in New Mexico in May. That resulted in three people losing their lives. 12 medical staff had to be quarantined. The original call came in as a overdose. So first responders get to the actual home. They made contact. Three people already have passed. One person was able to actually get re um, with that spray into the nose, and the actual the responding first responders, a few of them had to run out the room because they got extremely sick. They were throwing up, they were dizzy, and had to actually receive medical treatment for themselves, right? Now, three people had to be hospitalized, but the fact is they didn't say which ones, the first responders or people living at that house. So there had to be 20 people decontaminated at the actual hospital, which means that they got sprayed outside and took the proper steps of an unknown substance. And the actual the spokesman for the actual for the mayor, they said that nobody is actually in danger, but yet it's airborne. They didn't come in contact with the substance, they came in contact with the actual room, and that's how they became sick. So how is that not a threat to the actual to the public, right? So where did that substance come from? Was it regular fent or was it a different type, right? Now, let's go to Las Vegas now. Las Vegas has um, had a case of an an actual citizen of the country you can't name by name. Um, he was actually called in on because a few of his guests that were in his actual garage got sick. Okay, so they reported to the actual hospital. The hospital did their investigation, and they came in contact with something that has not been disclosed. Okay, and so when they actually raid his house, they found weapons that he shouldn't have had, and they found a lab in his actual garage, and he was keeping the actual his um his actual chemicals in a regular refrigerator that was leaking out the actual substance. Okay, so what happened to him? Even though he was a visa carrying, he wasn't he was not associated with the actual embassy, so he had no embassy, he had no diplomatic immunity, but still was released, and the gun charges were also dropped. And that's just a pattern that keeps repeating itself over and over again. Okay, so not only did he have biohazard in his actual garage, for what purpose we could only imagine. Okay, and it wasn't for drug manufacturing either. Okay, it wasn't for that. So now the weapons charges, them are federal charges. Nobody can beat a federal gun charge. Nobody. It's automatic. But yet he gets released. This should have been all over the news in the US, But no response at all. Okay. Now, like I said, there's no coincidence in this actual with these people. Okay. When I say people, these agents. Okay, these agents. Okay, let's get that clear before I get put on a list again. Okay. So now you have the actual owner of that rental house in Las Vegas. He is also the owner of the lab in California that was busted about almost 2 years now. By in the Fresno area, a actual code inspector, the ones that drive around the city, they look for anything that is out of place or out of code, and will approach you and have you correct it or get rid of it, depending on the actual what it is, right? And so he approached this makeshift shed, and they had an illegal water hose spigot. He approached them after further investigation by this code enforcer, found a lab that was owned by a Chinese national. Well, that Chinese national is the actual owner of that actual Las Vegas home that he's bringing out to this individual, right? To this agent. Is that a coincidence, or what's really going on here, right? And these are only two cases that actually be brought out in the open. Does every state have an actual similar story? Why wouldn't they? And these agents are ready to release whatever it takes, whatever call they get, and it's already in mice. They're ready to go, ready to get released into the public, but not a word. Not a word. The Chinese is actually looking at some serious time, but the other one gets away with it. And that's a pattern, right? And now Apple just gave a contract for the Apple set for the i17. If you guys remember, a few years back, iPhones were actually blowing up and people were actually using it. And the majority of them were in the Lebanese area. And these phones were actually exploding in front of them. They also provided a chip for that phone. And now they're getting another contract. And there was no recalls. There was nothing at all. These a couple even blew up in airplanes. And not an investigation, not a massive recall. Just think about that, right? So now, what can we do regarding this? Here, just all you can do, just keep in mind and talk to people about it. Let them know that you got to have a plan in place, because you might not be able to go home after you're at work. And if you have teenagers at home, there's got to be a plan in place for this actual situation, right? So where I grew up, um, several times a year we got evacuated because at the junkyard something would actually get released into the air, and we'd get actually bused to a different school, right? These different schools um, were far away to get away from the actual air quality, right? And if you didn't have a ride home, or your parents weren't able to pick you up because there was only one car, you were there all day until you got bused home later on that evening to your prospective school after the air quality was better, and then you can re-enter your home again. So that was consisted of the entire day, right? So just keep that in mind and keep that actually into like a verbal plan. Don't make a big deal about it, but just make sure you communicate with your teenagers and let them know this is going to happen if this happens, and here's where to go or here's where not to go, right? And then just to end it on this, um, I don't want to come off in a certain way, but remember who actually created that board that was actually retailed out to as a toy. Okay, this actual toy was a board that actually summoned things into your actual, into something not good, something evil, right? And they actually put it out as a toy in actual, that the old Toys R Us, that company, that came from them. That right there should just tell you where they're coming from. Most cultures try to hide it. They monopolize on it. They made money on it. And them boards are real. Okay, guys, till next time.